Hey, 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 everyone. It's Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach for content creation tips and more Facebook group. And if you haven't already launched your biz, you might want to head on over to the other side where we have the Busy 9 to 5ers Hive, where those who want to create their escape route from their 9 to 5, leave their employee status to be over on the entrepreneur side. That's also where you can have some progress and find me as well. So thank you everyone for joining me today. Let's get a little started here. Let me just make sure. So again, today is an extra bonus day. I figured I would make sure that we kind of conclude. We've been on this 6-day journey with content creation when it comes to social media posts. And what are the components that you can really think about and having what I call your yin and your yang, your zen, when it comes to your social media and how you can take advantage of some strategies and some methods to make sure that you have a well-rounded social media presence out there online. So let me just double check. I got folks trying to connect, so I'll give you guys a minute to do that. And I'm gonna just hold on one second. Let's see if I can plug this in real quick on my side. And hold on here on the web. Come on. There we go. All right. There we go. We'll get that going. So in case anybody else wants to join, you have an ability to do so. Please let me know, put your comments inside of the notes, and we will also give you an opportunity to connect. So always know that you can do that as well before we get started. So give me 1 second. All right. So again, I want to welcome everybody to another live coaching session with my community of content creation tips and more, where solopreneurs, freelancers, and coaches who are new to launching their business can get a little help from me, Dr. Yam, and how they can use content marketing creations and tips and more to help them to start to grow their business organically. If you haven't already done so, please, I want to invite you over to our space. Simply go right here, smallbizsociety.com is where you can find us hanging out over there. And also, if you haven't already done so, you can sign up for my newsletter and also get information on what's going on with me and how you can connect with me personally over at my website, keepitsimplecoach.info is where you'll find me there. And I am your coach, Dr. Yam. So today we're going to continue on our journey about content creation when it comes to social media posts and why that's important. Now, for a lot of people, when they're starting their business, there's lots of things that are thrown at you. You're going to hear lots and lots of noises out there when it comes to do this and do that and do this, and you got to have this, you better have that. And while that is all well and good, before you want to drive yourself absolutely crazy, you got to kind of slow down for a second and think about how you intend to show up on social media and how will you take care of the way in which you can create your content so that you aren't coming across salesy and you're also not giving yourself a headache every day. So what I've done for you is created a mind map that I'm going to do a quick review. If you haven't had a chance to watch the prior sessions, you can certainly go back over to our space in the Content Creation More Tips. I'll put the website back up, and there you're going to find 6 segment series videos that are there for you that I walk you through the 6 different types of social media posts that you should be considering and having a well-balanced presence on your social media accounts, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Snapchat. I'm probably left out something, but just know that there is an opportunity for you to have a presence. The question becomes, how do you decide what type of content do you need to have or should you have out there? So I've given you 6 different ways in which you can show up and have a sense of balance so that you're not going to come across too salesy. Because you come across salesy, folks ain't going to really connect with you very well. So there's that. So let's do a quick rundown. So today's concept is certainly around how are you going to bring social balance to your content creation routine? And we're going to do a quick summary and talk about some next steps. So let's get started. I'm going to pull up my slide deck for you guys. We'll do a quick review for those of you, if you hadn't had a chance already to watch, you'll get a chance to do that. So let me pop that on in here. There we go. Let's do that. All right. And then we'll just take us on in. Oops, there we go. All righty. So again, what I've created for you guys is a mind map. I'm very cognizant of people's learning styles, and I'm a visual learner. So it's always good to have like these little snapshots, a little snap images that can kind of be triggers for you. And I'm also used to using colors as well. So hopefully this will be a helpful tool for you as well. So what I've identified is there are 6 categories that I've broken down, and then there's some subcomponents with respect to what does that look like. And so kind of think of it as e to the 6th power. And so, and then how is it that, you know, just like a circle or a hexagon, you know, it has a sense of balance. Anything that's an even number is a balance, right? So with that said, I've identified for you 6 key categories that will help you to have a sense of balance when it comes to you creating social media content. So let's do a quick walkthrough. So your first is the ones is when we think about content, you want to think about how can you engage and connect with your followers as well as your current customers. And so the first way in which you can do that is how you can do this by encouraging them. Encouraging means things like you can put social posts out that are inspirational quotes. They may be scriptures. They may be your customer testimonies. They may even just be personal photographs. This is just ways in which you can connect with your intended audience in such a way at an emotional level, but it's just kind of being positive and uplifting. The next one, educate. Now, again, here you get to show off a little bit. So here again, things that you can do on the education leg is that you can answer a frequently asked question. You're an expert, and you typically, when people recognize and know who you are and what you do, they always come up with a question. So what are those common questions? And then you can just do that as a social post. Post a question, give an answer. Quick and simple. People like to know that you know what the heck you're talking about. Live streaming, just like what I'm doing. How are you adding value? Educating is about adding value. You can educate also just by sharing about a recent post or an article that you wrote, maybe on a magazine or a website, or simply your weekly blog post. Make those announcements and educate them on a particular topic. You also have just tips and tricks. What are some kind of knowledge nuggets, I like to call them? What are things that, again, you're adding value to your customers and your potential and your prospects or your followers? Again, another way in which you can share information. Data, case studies, and my favorite, infographics. Again, another way which you can, in one window, you can be very visual, giving some key facts, some data, some charts. People can consume that information and be able to take something away. So that's another way that you can, ways that you can educate your audience. Your next one is engagement. Now here it goes beyond the, you know, basic little thumbs up or thumbs down, but how can you kind of take them to another level? And another way that you can do that is creating social posts that will invigorate engagement. So engagement can be things like create a poll, just ask a question, fill in the blanks, quizzes, competitions, surveys, putting a caption on a photo that you put up. And then my other great favorite is, particularly for those of you who have products, is user-generated content. Now, again, I've covered this in much more detail inside of the Content Creation Tips and More site, and there you'll find the 6 series of videos that cover each one of these in more details. And I even give you some templates that you can go in to create, so you don't even have to start from scratch. But engagement is another component. And then we go back to an area of expertise. So here again, shining that spotlight on you as the expert. Share your knowledge, share your story, give some shout outs to your customers or your team, right? Don't forget your VAs. Your VAs are critical components in your business. If it's just you and that person or you and a couple of VAs, every now and again, just say, you know what? I don't do this stuff by myself. I got a little bit of help in the background. What does that look like? If you're in a production level, what does it look like for you to maybe finish off a product, or even if it's just how you package things, that little finishing touch, that little bow, show it behind the scenes. And then again, promoting your blog. And again, maybe even taking a screenshot of something that happened in your business life that you want to kind of share with everybody else. So expert. And then we went into entertain. Again, another way. Folks like to be distracted. I know they won't tell you that, but they're out there looking to be distracted. So you might as well bring that to the table for them. And again, stock photos, holiday days, gifts, puzzles, all of the like, or ways in which you can entertain your followers so that they can have a little bit of a distraction, but in a tasteful way. Last but not least, here's where you get to elicit. Elicit as into, let's give them some sales, baby. So here, product posts, freebies, offers, webinars, every type of events, those are all opportunities where you're able to share an opportunity for them to take you up on that offer or letting them know about your latest and greatest offer. So there are all the key components of my social content categories for your social balance mind map. So hopefully you found that to be helpful. Now, the next question comes to be, is now that you've gotten all that huge bit of information, and I know I ran through it really, really quick, but I break it down in much more detail inside of the content creation tips and more groups. So feel free to visit me over there. And I did use Canva. So do know that if you do not have a free Canva account, click right here, go to bit.ly/Dr. Yam Canva. You get yourself a free account. And inside there, then you can tap into 6 sets of templates that I've created for each of the topics that I just done for you. So you don't have to start from scratch. It always feels a little better when you don't have to start from scratch, if you know what I mean. I'm a template kind of gal, so anything that I could do to help is always good for me. And it's sure, hopefully you'll find it as helpful as well. Now, so we've gotten that going. So now that we've kind of summarized the framework, right, that mind map, the next question becomes is, what do I do next? Well, here's another thing about what all of having that balance is. So I want you to kind of give notice to the fact that, let me show this back up. One of the other things that you may not have even realized, and as I was creating and designing this model for you, is that the balance is not so much that you're having all 6 components, right? There's that representation, but I also want you to recognize how those 6 components are actually even broken down a little further. And what I mean by that is there's 3 of those components, right? Your educate, your expert, and your elicit. Those are more focused on you the expert, you the educator, you the person who's got something to sell, right? So there's that type of, that's your yin, right? And then when you think about the them is those people, those followers, those clients, those customers that you want to convert and engage with them at a different level. And the ways in which you're able to do that was, and you're encouraging, how you're entertaining them, how you're giving them engagement opportunities. So that's your yang, right? So you got your yin and you got your yang. So there is your balance in and of itself. Now, something else to keep in mind is, what's the next step? And when we think about that, I want you to know that we've got visual components to social media content. The next thing that you want to do is copy, writing it. Now, let me just make a quick disclaimer and let you know, I am not a copywriter expert, nor do you have to be for the purposes of your social post. Now, when we think about Facebook ads and that aspect of marketing copy, that's a different conversation. We're not going to go there today. However, I do want you to know that in as much as you've had those visual representations with the different templates, which, by the way, let me give you a quickie. Let's see here if I can. Yeah, let me just do the one that we did last. Here we go. Let me do a quick share, and just so you can kind of see. So this is the template that we are using inside of. There we go. All right. So one of the things that I did as a part of this series is I share with you Canva templates for each of the 6 components. So they'll look similar to this. And while everything in this component is on the creation side, is much more around the visual pieces. There's another component when you think about social posts. You just don't throw a picture up there all by itself. It needs to come with a bit of context or content in the written content as much as you're going to have a visual, right? So what will that look like to accompany it? Because we can only put so much information on a post image space anyway. So now you have to kind of match it and have that balance with some copy. So what can that look like? So here's what I'm going to do for you today. Is I'm going to walk you through just some writing tips that now that you have visuals that you've created, as many you should have at least 18 to 21 social posts in your bundle ready to go if you've been following along with me. So now that you have your images, now let's talk about what will accompany those pictures in the form of copy. So I want to just walk you through some social media content writing tips that you can do. Because each one of you have a different set of audience, your targets are different, and you all also come with different personalities as well. So all of that you want to kind of keep in mind. That being said, let's go through what I come up with are your social media content tip writing components that you always want to keep in mind as you're writing copy for your social post. So the first thing you want to do is, of course, do some research. You don't want to come off as just aloof or just making up stuff. You do want to have some basis for the types of social posts that you're putting out there. And what I mean by that too is, as you're looking at how you want to engaging and you're educating them, you want to make sure that the copy that you're doing is relevant to those particular target audience people, right? So you want to make sure that in order for that stuff to be kind of successful and relevant. So in general, but it may not come as natural to you. So you may want to make sure that you're using some right language so you want to be, pick up things that are going to connect best with your audience. So just do a little research, making sure that you're using, that the timing is right, obviously, as well. So that's one thing. The next part is you want to think about is speaking their language. So in this particular case, when we think about your target audience or your avatar, you'll hear different terms. What are the languages that they're using that they're going to be commonplace? And so when you did your search, when you did your avatar research in order for you to kind of define who is your ideal customer, there should have been some recognition of what are the keywords and things that they're using out there. I know we get really caught up in thinking we know who our customers are and what they want to do, but we really don't. And until you sit down and kind of have to have that reflective moment to kind of just go and ask people, and the language that they're using when you ask the questions is the language you also want to be mindful of as well. Especially, I come from academia, so we tend to be very theoretical, and we also tend to use large words and long words, and it doesn't necessarily always match with the people because you want to have conversation. So you want to make sure that you're speaking the language of your customers. If you're in the, sea life space, right, then You need to be able to speak in that language as much as on the topic matter, and that they're being able to make those connections for you. Okay. Whereas it's going to be different than if you're posting in LinkedIn and you're trying to connect with executives. Well, then you got to have your step up your game and use the language that's going to make most sense for them. Another tip for you to keep in mind is developing your voice. And this is about that authenticity. When we think about your persona, your personal brand, it comes with a voice. So everybody has a different personality. Your persona may be light and bubbly and airy. It may be very high end, or it may be more academic. It may be more theory, it may be more scientific, it might be more techie. And so whatever that voice that you have, that's what's going to show up in how you're choosing to use the language in your copy for your social post as well. So that brand voice, as we like to call it, is that personality and also an emotional way in which you're going to infuse that inside of your writing and in that language and in your tone as well. And writing is an art. But I also wanted to share that with you because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, like, oh my God, now I got to worry about that. No, you can still keep it simple. These are just things to just be mindful of. You're still going to need to bring yourself inside of everything that you're putting out there in your social presence. And you just want to be consistent at the same time. And how is it that you're going to be able to have an influence in making those connections with your intended audience alongside of the content? So writing your content, so you want to be able to have those interactions with them. And again, consistency is always good. So if you're always the jokester and it works with who you're with your brand, then great, and you're uplifting and upbeat and all that. But again, being consistent with your audience is making those emotional connections, is how you're going to be able to build your know, like, and trust factors for them to be able to continue to like you and follow you. And of course, be able to make those conversions as well. The next component is always be positive. People want to be uplifted, and you don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but again, all of those 6 subject categories that I shared with you earlier, there's always an opportunity for you to keep a positive spin on it. You definitely don't want to berate other fellow colleagues or speak bad of other people. As your mom or your dad, I'm sure, used to tell you, or your grandmother, is if you can't say something nice, just don't say nothing at all, at least not in public. So always do that. So, but stay positive. It's always a way. People will be attracted to that more so than anything. And you want to be able to make that difference. So I don't know if you know this or not, but happy post is nothing about being perky as it is about staying positive and uplifting in the information that you're bringing. So again, doing that, not criticizing others, or those other kind of slots. It's cheap, and you don't have time for that at the end of the day. So avoid doing anything along those lines. Now, another one, keep it short, and as always, keep it simple. Now, you're not writing a dissertation. This is a simple social post. People don't got time to read, not like that. And you're competing at the same time. But you do want to be thoughtful about what you're writing, but doing it in a concise way. So what will that look like for you? You want to value their time. And in order for you to do that is you want to make your content and your post easy to read, right? And the way in which you do that is consider everything at an 8th grade reading level. And how do you know what you're writing is at an 8th grade reading level, you're asking? You have 2 ways that you can do that. You can simply pre-write your information inside of Microsoft Word. And when you go inside of Microsoft Word, there is a tool there under review, and where you're able to not only to look at reading level, there's a component there for that. And you just always want to make sure your word choices are that at an 8th grade level minimum. Don't want to go too high. Okay. And another tool, if you haven't already been in the practice of using it, is Grammarly. It's another one that will also give you an indication of what that looks like. So do keep those things in mind. Using headers, using bullets, lists, also makes your content a lot easier to read. And again, sticking in a little emoji every now and then will not hurt, but don't go emoji crazy on me, okay? And even if you're going to write in paragraphs, paragraphs shouldn't be any more than maybe 2 or 3 sentences. Again, you don't want to get too wordsy. It's going to turn people off. So keep it short, keep it simple, keep it concise, keep it in an 8th grade level, and you should be good to go. And things we've already kind of talked about, but just to reiterate, using images and also using video. I know that, and I talk about this a bit too inside of the prior segments, that you always have an opportunity to take your social post to another level, a little deeper, and embedding some video content inside. Doesn't always have to be you video. There's canned stock video that you could utilize to help enhance what you're trying to get across inside of those 6 categories that I've shared with you already. So keep that in mind as another opportunity, is using video. But imagery is also a great thing. And I gave you that inside of the templates that you have with inside of Canva. So you have that. Let's see. In case you didn't see this, I'm going to pop this out. And there we go. So here again is an opportunity for you to zoom in a little bit better here. Again, using visuals, using video are all different ways in which you want to, like this one is all text, which has its purpose, but as much as you can, pictures and videos is also another way to get that connection with them. Okay, so this is just an example of the types of contents and social posts, and these are the templates that I've created for you guys. So if you're inside of the content creation tips and more space, you'll get these for free as a set of 6 template sets that you get that cover each one of the mind map components. So do, if you haven't already done so, visit us over there. Okay, there. Now, last but not least, I know sometimes we get a little forgetful and we want to get stuff out in a hurry. This is about when you're creating social posts that you're planning out in advance. There's always going to be those opportunities when you'll do those one-offs. Like I'll do one-offs when I'm out and about or I have a thought and it's just in that moment. And that's another way of showing up inside of your social media, is being that authentic person. And as much as you're going to have planned copy and social posts to put out there, you'll always have opportunities for you to do the ad hoc ones as well. But even with that said, you may also want to make sure that you have a call to action. CTA, we like to call it. And all this means is that, what do you want people to do now that they've looked at your stuff? You spent all that effort, all that time. Now, what do you want them to do? So, call to actions can come in a lot of different forms and have lots of different purposes. But you do want to, at the end of each one of your social posts, then that content is, consider prompting your audience for them to take action, for them, even if it's just to like what you've done and give you some type of a component. You can just ask them again, like or share your social media posts. You can ask a question for them to answer inside of the comments. You can also just send them to a landing page if you have some other information that you want them to see, or direct them to another piece of content. It might be even in another social media platform if you want to. Of course, you can always direct them to your website, get them to subscribe to your newsletter. So there's those types of kind of call to actions. And again, ask them just to connect with you on those social media posts as well. There's nothing wrong with redirecting people. People are typically on at least 2 social platforms, at least 2. And again, you should know, based on your researches, where are your people hanging out? Depending on your industry, they're not hanging out on Pinterest, or they're not hanging out on Twitter, or they're not hanging out on LinkedIn. So based on your avatar, you should know, based on that research, is where are your people hanging out? And again, How are you able to share with them an opportunity for them to connect with you using a call to action? So now the question is, as far as what's the what next, right? In the next step is, how are you going to manage your social media content and be headache free? We've gone through a series of creating. You now have a little bit better sense of how you'll match up your copy with your image creations. Now it's about how you managing all of this. And there's ways in which you can do it. In fact, each day of the week, last week, I gave you a social media tool highlight. And I've highlighted for you 6 different social media tools that you can consider. Again, you'll find those inside of our space. If you haven't already done so, head on over to smallbizsociety.com, and inside there you'll find my 6 videos, as well as templates, as well as the links to go to each of the social media tools that you may want to consider. And here's the thing, there's lots of options out there. Some are free, some are freemiums. We call them freemiums, meaning you'll start free for a little while. Some give you trials, or they'll give you a limited version of a full-blown pro version. So there's all these different opportunities that are out there. As solopreneurs, freelancers, and coaches, there's typically, they've gotten mindful of the fact that, when you're first starting out, you're really trying to be frugal and being mindful of your budget. And so most of them tend to be definitely $15 or less a month. And that's an investment that you want to make sure that you have in place, is a place to create content, and also how are you managing it. And in some of those tools, you were able actually to do a twofer. Twofer meaning that you were able to have both creating your content and an ability to manage that content. And when we think about it in those terms, that's a twofer for me. And so anything that you can do to keep, again, yourself from having a headache, the better. And so anytime you can kind of combine tools together, that makes things a lot easier for you to manage, and it can also keep inside of your budgets as well. So kind of a couple of things. So check out the 6 that I've already shared with you. And then I'm getting a little button happy today. All right, so there you go. So then again, you've got, how is it that you're going to be able to bring social balance to your content creation routine without getting yourself a headache? I hope you found this all to be helpful. Please don't forget to visit us over at the Smallbiz Society, where you'll have content creation tips and more. And jump on over there. Oh, my little screen just popped away. And you'll find me here in smallbizsociety.com. I hope you found this to be helpful. As always, let's get busy. Take care. Bye.